resilience
Yeah,
and flexibility. I'm
right.
not everybody is that, and on a lot of things I am because I never had any choice growing up, so I know how to be.
So yeah, so we were talking about conversations that are broken, and um, yeah, so I'm just trying to like help facilitate a learning environment where people will be more conscious about what makes up conversation and what we bring into conversation, which is what they usually call participation. But and then people think participation is just like shouting ideas and building on ideas, and but a lot of the things that happen in conversation involve cold cognition, which is or was it hot cognition? There's two types of cognitions, and one of them is not conscious. Like you have to learn them as soon as the conversation ends, and so I mean, there are conversations where it could just be you asking me questions, I'm asking you questions, and they could be non-linear, and still we come away with conversation the wiser, being that we have learned like disparate facts, but because our mind is constantly looking for patterns, it will learn things,
Right.
right?
Oh wow, that's you're singing my music. I come at it from well, I don't even know if it's a different angle. I come at it, and I've never talked about it with someone who understood the practical abstract nature of like you're layering on things, what's happening, and what our brain is remembering what it happened before, and how that gives us intuition, and we inherit that.
Exactly. Like the way you ask those questions about my past, like I was thinking, why is she not asking me questions about, well, you did right on this call. You asked me about how I see the problem or why am I offering this, which is like the now. What do I see in the now that this is urgent even? And then second is, so you asked me about the past, which is good. Like what have I done before? So I've done, I was a consultant for Accenture. It's a global company that Jimmy Kimmel said unfucked Obamacare. and, and yeah, so Obamacare was actually fixed by Filipinos, and I was part of the team. And Accenture is in 120 countries, whose clients include 90 of the top 100 global companies. So I worked on Google, I worked on Nokia, Microsoft, those accounts. So I did much of training, development for Accenture employees, and then I moved to project management, which is creating people, process, technology together, and doing a knowledge transfer from wherever geography it's coming from, let's say Spain or India, and that it transfers to the Philippines. Those parts of the business that do, I create the people, process, and technology, plug and play, and then let it go. So that entails a lot of, so the knowledge transfer piece entails a lot of training, development, and so that's how I learn how to like build on the conversational nature of learning. Because 70% of what we learn in conversation, and only 30% in formal things, right? So
Right.
right.
I've been doing that too, and I don't even know how to compare it because we're in different currencies and systems. But
Yeah.
my body of work, Divine Thinking, is about. I'm not overly educated in so many fields that I feel like I have to integrate now in community ministry and community organizing. But I don't want to go to school to learn them because I'm already in the community. I'm already presenting. I'm already in challenging situations in which there is no script, like trying to collaborate with young African American women that I just met, and like what's our it has been really difficult for me to know to not presume my conversation norms. Like if I feel like, oh, I believe in conversation and I can just get us talking freely about the process of this a group of women organized a community festival for the whole city of 100,000 people to celebrate African American freedom. And I offered myself as an ally, and I couldn't rely on. I couldn't rely on a conversation norm, and I could feel myself getting frustrated, like, oh, I could fix this. But then that would be me layering it on. But that's part of what I'm learning. And I do see some there's American culture, there's Western culture, there's the advanced culture. But I get stuck in trying to relate to people when I see this way through, that it's just my instinct. And because I have been mostly a children's minister, I believe that the easy way through is through the child that the community is supposed to be raising. And that's how adults stay imagining through play and making sure their children have that, because we want them to develop a mind to dream of a world and maybe actually give their gift that our generation doesn't have. And we don't do that. We don't do that. And so we're just having to catch up for so many layers of, I think I agree with you verbatim that the broken rings, broken loops of conversation, I think that's it.
Right. I also work in a church where 70% are kids. So we have a council of deacons. That's the counterpart of your board of trustees. And 2 of them are 20-year-old boys. And one of them is gay. And it's amazing and one of them is Trinitarian. So, and we're able to have a conversation that is more rich about how this faith is multicultural, multi-lineage, because we can't say this is Unitarian faith, we embrace every belief, and yet we actually only embrace religions and not beliefs, oh, you're a Buddhist Unitarian, you're a pagan Unitarian, but I have other beliefs aside from my beliefs in God. Like, I believe in ghosts. I have mystical experiences. Can I bring that in?
You could start an affinity group here in New England. Like, wow. It's just, yes.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. So I feel like about your question about the time. So we also privilege the past as a source of wisdom. Usually that's what we do. Like, what have we done in the past that's worked? Like, how we view the past is how we inform our identity. So for instance, hey, I was a killer in the past, so I'm a killer, right? So, but we do know that in many religions, the restorative part has to do with the future, like envisioning, like from here on, I will be different. Like, this is repentance. This is what repentance is about. It's about looking to the future and what do you desire and allow yourself to be and give yourself permission to be that. So our identity when we're future oriented is our desire. So my intentions, desiring what. So it is forward looking, right? So, and then the contingency piece of the time that I mentioned. So I talked about asymmetrical time, which is more past looking, right? But usually it goes like this from left to right. But I would say it goes like that, like Tower of Babel, where we build on things, right? So that's how asymmetrical time actually looks. And people are saying, I will know where to go if I know where to look. How to look behind me is how I know where to go, right? So that's asymmetrical time. And then time as a singularity is like what Valerie Kaur was saying. What if this is not the tomb, but the womb? What if this is ground zero? What if this is T minus zero? What if this is the beginning, right? So let's say, oh, I'm getting married. What does that mean? You have zero experience in marriage. How are you going to even envision a life of marriage, right? But then you just do it. This is what ministry is about. It's working on our aspirations and pushing it forward from zero experience. And so,
I mean, isn't that the way we should be? I guess that's the way I always approached ministry, and I wasn't aware that people didn't, that I was making an assumption that in ministry you join with a congregation to say, okay, what are your hopes and dreams? I have some experience organizing
right.
dreams and making sure you have a structure of how you take care of yourself, and it's an experiment. Let's go. But instead it's that, like, we must make this bond forever because we know we're gonna hate each other and we're gonna, but is it better? Is it, I think it's too binary.
Yes, no. So there's a third one, right? The contingency is what's this sense of time is like, it's so arbitrary because, for instance, if you go to that future looking thing, forward looking view of time as the womb, which is infinite potential, it's also based on faith, right? Like, it's based on faith. Your identity is based on desires and intentionality. And then time, the sense of time as contingency is saying, for instance, out of the blue, you just like, slap your kid's wrist and say, hey, stop doing that. You're already 5 years old, or hey, you're an adolescent now. We don't kiss in the mouth anymore. And these are arbitrary, like, situatedness.
Yeah.
We just focus on the present. Like, I am defined by my present. Where am I? So for instance, in our transition that we're going through, all I hear from the UUA co-presidents are like, here's the past, here's what we've done in the past. But there's no like, how do you want this church to look? And Allison goes, we don't just darken the pews. And then Mark Morrison goes, let us darken the doorways.
Right. We don't have a plan.
Yeah. So the situatedness can take us there to a womb stage. Like, we need to define ourselves. Where are we in the thesis antithesis dialogue that we're going through, the dialectic, if there is such a dialectic, or maybe it is a mind map and chaotic. Like, how do we situate ourselves? I think we can say that our church is in a period of history that is post-institutional. People have more comfort trusting strangers than clergy, right? So in that case, how do we imagine a church based on that situatedness, right? So there could even be like this Microsoft consultant, Steve Ballmer, said that we have many different identities based on what we actually are, what we communicate we are, what is ideally we are. So he calls it the acid test, ACID. So actual, communicated, ideal, and desired. And you can see that there's different time orientations in those four. So yeah. So I would like to challenge people in the workshop to, let's create a conundrum, right? And then we assign people, you are the past oriented, try to role play that.
Right.
You're the present oriented, you're the future oriented. Let's see what happens.
Right. Yeah, I'm it's a much different picture than how it read for me. And so I needed to kind of like say, can you take out each piece from the box and show me how you set it up, And so even though I don't know the actual conversation I don't have a sense of the experiences yet. What I do is try to imagine, okay, I just have to pause on going with exchanging ideas with you, because I do grasp it, and I'm recording this, so I look forward to listening to you again.
Oh, you froze.
And your wisdom. So, but for the sake of this workshop, like how to get people in the room, and I'd like to give some thought to, the language of what pulls people in. And I'm not sure if I'm a bridge or I'm just another person in an equilateral triangle of anything, where I see how I can't relate to privileged people.
Right.
And I am privileged. They can't relate to me. So I leave myself in this middle position of saying, what I'm learning for myself is, how am I supposed to change myself with my sense of being a creative? I'm an artist, right? And just very creative. Like, how am I supposed to change the way I do things and not get caught up in that the institutional system that just, I jump in there and say, I'm going to try it again, and then it chews me out, it spits me out, and I'm accepting it and saying, okay, I have to wake up to the purpose that I'm called to, that I'm best at, which is just kind of waiting in the middle. And at this point in time, I know that I'm just able to see this clearly and be connecting with you, where I feel like I am a responder and a connector, and I'm not sure what I'm going to do with the institutional UUA for I have a big list, and I don't want to make it about me, but I know that I have details that could serve others. So I'm holding that. And so I have a sense of the anxiety, like, I don't know how much of a sense you have of it, of the anxiety of Unitarian Universalism, and it's dividing those who were friends of mine that just say, they say to me, I think what you're doing is great, but church can just feel good and be a nice thing. Stop stirring the pot. And so that's a fracture for me, that I have to turn away, because I'm like, I'm not staying there. I'm not.
I saw that you have a published book. In the UUA published your book, right? Or was it Beacon Press?
Yeah. It was, that one wasn't, but that was a long time ago. I was young. I was in
What was that about? I forgot the title.
So, I have a lot of writing, and I just haven't put it in a form yet. I have like 1,000 pages of the past 4 years of just looking at this without a given system, and just seeing what I experience, what I'm interested in, and then paying attention enough to know if there are names for it. And I'm learning. I'm like, oh, this is such a relief for me. I'm like, oh, good. This thing I've been trying to get people to do in all these clever ways, it's a thing, and they're actually people who can talk about it and bring it forth to stand before UUs who are not aware of this. They don't know it's a thing, that they're so driven by the sense of the model in their head of, I grew up in the United States, and that all-American model, even though there were bad story, a lot of abuse or whatever, it was singular,
right?
The Americana culture. And so I'm just trying to think about, how do we, and I will be thinking about this, like, how can I help frame you? And because I can't talk, like, I want to maybe be a bridge to say my understanding of you with those who attend.
Right.
And then you are, because you have the in this realm a deeper honor of sharing your culture and are a spiritual leader in that regard. I mean, more than just what your credentials say. You're you're going to guide them through your cultural practice.
I think it's not even my culture. It's just, it's like, it's a merging of both Eastern and Western philosophies on just looking at the feedback loops, because it's in Taoism, it's in process theology, right? So the feedback loops, right? So yeah, I really want to just make people feel hope again, that not all is lost, that even when we're adversarial to each other, we are still communicating. Even when we're not talking, our positions will communicate, will intersect, our beliefs will meet at certain junctures. So there's no planet B. Life is more than the things we love, and so we need to just be mindful of the conversations where we are participating, whether we like it or not. So, right? So I'm just feeling like, also I feel privileged to be, to have done, out of 31 years of my working life, I'm 47, I have been working for NGOs, and I've helped more than 30 NGOs do transformational work. Either they transform their communication strategy, or they transform their leadership or their governance. And I've helped so many NGOs. So, and these NGOs are in dialogue with international NGOs. So their way of being is highly influenced in a very global setting. So this is what shaped my thinking.
Well, I think this is great. This is great. So let me sleep on it. And I have this and footage and.
By the way, when are you coming? Wednesday, right?
Tuesday. I'm coming Tuesday.
Oh, Tuesday.
Yeah.
What time?
I'm gonna be there by before noon.
Okay.
Yeah. When are you going?
So I'm leaving tomorrow morning, so I'll be there around 4 p.m.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have much going on. It's going to be weird for me to be back. I haven't been in that scene for a few years, but sorry, look, we can get together as soon as you want. I'll text you when I get in.
We can have maybe Wednesday breakfast.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
I'm staying at the Omni Riverfront. How about you?
I didn't do it. My friends reserved it. I'm not even sure. So I'll let you know.
Same with me.
Yeah.
I'm rooming with Tulsa folks. Barbara Prost from All Souls.
Oh, I know Barbara.
Yeah. I'm rooming with Barbara and Kathy Edwards from Hope Church, Tulsa.
Okay. Yeah, I met Barbara up at Prairie Beach in Maine, Saco, Maine, years ago, and in another setting. So it's like.
Yeah.
So where do you mostly live? Somewhere like
Manila.
Manila, yeah. But you're in Colorado now?
I'm in Colorado now. So okay. I just attended Pride March today. Here it was so much fun.
Oh, nice.
It's my first Pride March with the Unitarians, so I'm so happy.
They do Pride, which is great.
It was great. Like congregations had their own particular colors. So First Universalist Denver was red, and then orange was another congregation, yellow, blue.
Wow.
Great.
Wow, that's great. Well, good for you. Yeah, I gotta do one more work shift and do a bunch of stuff, but I'm gonna We'll plan on Wednesday, but I'm gonna listen to this and I'll be in touch. I'm very inspired and excited.
Oh, thank you very much. And
Oh
please,
yeah,
just,
yeah,
try to break everything.
yeah.
Okay,
I
cool.
know. I have
I appreciate being, if you can be the foil or the devil's advocate, whatever.
yeah, no, yeah, I'm good for. I'm like, yeah. You'll know more about me. I'm a person that has nothing to lose at this point. So I'm
Oh, wow.
kind of powerful. I'm
Me too.
poor and powerful. Not that poor, but it's great. Um, it's been
Awesome.
hard, but I'm just like, well, I guess this is my thing. Like, I'm
So
gonna.
what do you do now? Are you in RE? Are you doing RE for a church or something? What do you do
I
now?
was, but I didn't read. I did 7 months this year. I didn't ever want to do congregational work again because I always think I'm representing myself and how I explain it as, I'm a change person. It's looking at the parts and just seeing how things flow together. And when I go in to do an interim RE thing, they say, yes, that's what we want. We want someone who can tell us what they see. And then I tell them, and they're like, no, but just don't touch that. Like, no, but don't touch that committee. That has nothing to do with that. And well, yeah, it does. So I get into this thing where I'm expected to lie at a certain point or withhold observation about who I see this community to be.
Mm.
And inevitably, if I'm doing religious education, there's always a senior minister who's chief of staff. And they just try to stop me, and I'm like, I can't lie. I'm not going to say, I'm not going to say our kids are the most special kids in the world, extra special. I can't say that. It's all children are special. And so I would always end in this tussle, and it happened again. And maybe even more of a fantastical, horrible way of falling short of what we have the capacity to do and be as Unitarian Universalists, that they just said,
Yeah. I feel like time is like the last frontier of assumptions that we have not unraveled. Like we come with our own senses of time and we come with our own cultural senses of time, like cyclical time, linear time, whatever. And so I feel like this is the last frontier of things that we need to uncover as our lens, because we already know our racial lens, our cultural lens, our religious lens. We don't know the time lens,
Our sense of time, absolutely.
right?
That's in my work with teens in the community and refugee teens or whoever. Unitarian Universalist white teens, time is the biggest challenge that prevents
Right.
the group from
Yeah.
doing something more advanced together by choice or deeper by
Right.
choice, wanting to, and they just, they will not agree on time. The congregation could not agree on time.
Right. All right. So I'll also put in some quoted resources like philosophies coming from, maybe Bruno Latour, Donna Haraway, and stuff like that, like how they view
Yeah,
us having conversations through time. So,
yeah, yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I'm happy to help with any of the graphics and all that. And
All right.
well,
And co-facilitate with me if we're lucky to have many people. Like let's divide the room and just see what
right.
happens. Okay.
Well, I'll get out the word and we'll see what we have. And I'll look at it and think about how I will talk about it and because I will have to interpret it.
Right, of course.
And
But
so
thank you. Thank you for trying.
yeah. Oh, no, this is great. This is no matter what, this has already been a blessing.
Oh, thank you very
So,
much.
yeah,
So,
yeah. Okay.
blessing. I'll see you maybe Wednesday morning, huh?
Yeah, for
All
sure.
right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.